So, how do we sabotage love? Well, we've all got baggage. We've all got core wounds. These are the universal wounds that are endemic in our culture. And they're kind of like the elephant in the room when it comes to relationships, regardless of whether, we're hetero or LGBTQ, or whether we're old or young or black or white, or even whether or not we're monogamous or polyamorous. These are wounds that we unconsciously act out, which sabotage the quality of our relating, how we interact on a personal level. So, what are they? Well, the mother complex for men and the father complex for women. So, how do they show up? Well, for the guys, with a mother complex, this happens, and it's been absolutely pandemic in our patriarchal culture, where a lot of women, I would say well over 90%, have felt emotionally and psychologically unsupported by their partners. Now, why? Well, because men were told that what made a good husband or father was to be a good provider and protector. Okay, and there was no life education about, how to be a great emotional support or psychological support. There was no training. So you don't know what you don't know. Yeah. And so a lot of women unwittingly made their sons their little man. Okay, and this is a huge taboo. What does that look like? Well, that's when, mum tends to overshare with her son things that are too much for him. They're not age appropriate. And so he feels burdened by his mother's unhappiness, and he feels disempowered and emasculated that he can't make his mother happy. So when he's in a relationship, his Achilles heel, his absolute fear is, I can't make a woman happy. Okay. Or I can't make, my feminine dominant partner happy. All right. So because we act out those relationships with the opposite gender role energetically, regardless of our gender identity and preference. So when that's running in the background as an unconscious program, if a woman says, or a feminine dominant male says to their partner, honey, I'd like to do relationship counseling, or I'd like to do an online relationship course, or would you read the self-help book? The man or masculine dominant woman is likely to say, no, and feel insecure that they're not enough to make their partner happy. Okay, so the shield is likely to go up, and they're likely to dig their heels in and become resistant, because for them, consenting would be an agreement that they have failed, that they are not enough as they are, that if you really loved me, okay, you'd love me just the way I am, as the song goes. So yes, it's one thing to be loved for who we are, but it is, if you will, the inner teenager that digs their heels in and says, you can't tell me what to do, not realizing that they're actually projecting mother onto their feminine dominant partner. So this really sabotages relationships. It means that there's no space for growth, because every time, the feminine partner is saying, here, let's do this, let's expand, let's grow, let's go on our journey as partners. The masculine, if immature, if they're still not aware of this wound that's running them unconsciously, is going to be saying, hell no, I won't go. So, this is kind of like, the classic Peter Pan, the eternal boy that's like, no, because he's running from his mother. because he equates being a man, being an adult, with the more space there is between him and his mother. And this is what's also underlying the fear of commitment for a lot of men. So we see the mother complex play out for men in a lot of ways that sabotage relationships. One is overworking, okay, because they're trying to prove that they are really a man, okay, and it's coming from a deep-seated fear of they're not enough. So, when this is running, men can be wedded to their job and think, well, I provide, isn't that enough? Don't expect me to be all, gushy, and don't make me into a woman. Okay. So unless we acknowledge this, we are not going to evolve into a new level of partnership, new paradigm relationships that are truly conscious, that are mutually honoring, where one party is not parenting the other and enabling the other one to stay immature, which is ultimately what is emasculating for men. So what about women? Okay, we've all got crap. Okay, it's not just the men, it goes equally both ways. So for the women, women have this universal wound that's called the father complex. And this plays out as when we feel like we're not truly loved for who we are by our dads growing up. In other words, we didn't get a clear message that, hey, I'm cherished and adored for who I am, not what I do. And this is the wound that causes women to give and give and give and give to the point of burnout, to the point of illness, even death. And, we even have this notion in our society that a good woman is a woman who gives and asks nothing in return. I mean, that's the father complex right there. So this is an immature woman, a woman who's trying to gain love by being everything to all people, especially her partner, and self-sacrificing herself. And ultimately, this is irresponsible because, if you give and give and give and you don't have anything left for yourself, you will end up a burden to those around you because you haven't maintained a balance. So in relationship, how this shows up is women giving to the point where they're actually resentful. Okay, there's anger that they're having to give and give and give, but it's actually anger at their dad for not truly seeing them, not truly understanding them so that they felt love for who they are, but they're probably not even conscious of that. So they've got all this anger that they're feeling towards their partner. They may not even acknowledge it to themselves, and it comes out as passive aggressive behaviors. Okay, so martyrdom, victimhood. And when you've got these two wounds sort of banging up against each other, this does not a happy union make. So if you'd like to find out more about how we can move forwards, whether you're single, whether you're currently in a relationship, whether you're, whatever, hetero, gay, bi, polyamorous, lesbian, doesn't matter. We're all trying to work out our relationship with our parents, okay, with our partners. And when we get that, when we acknowledge that, as taboo as it is, okay, then we stop acting out unconsciously and creating relationships that harm rather than heal. So if you'd like to check out my brand new offering, it's called Conscious Relationships, Transforming Conflict into Connection. It's an online program you can do in the comfort and privacy of your own home when it suits you. And it maps the 3 levels of awareness, whether or not the inner child, the inner teenager, or the inner adult is dominant in both women and men, and how that impacts the quality of relating. There's also conflict resolution strategies for every level of the game, so that when you are triggered, okay, when those wounds get triggered, like a game of snakes and ladders, we either step up to the next level of relating, or we spiral down, like going down the snake, into the lesser levels, depending on our level of self-awareness and empowerment, how much those wounds are something that we are aware of and take accountability for. So I invite you to check it out via the link below. And yeah, look forward to your feedback. Blessings.